Prices at the factory gate have slowed. Producer inflation eased to 4.2% in July. That marks its lowest level in a year, and it's come in below forecasts. Data released by Stats SA shows that the coke, petroleum and chemical category made the largest contribution to the decrease. Producer price inflation has decreased markedly from 2023's average of 6.7%, and it's forecast to average close to 4% this year, partly because of petrol and diesel price cuts in recent months. South 32's year-end profits came in lower. The diversified miner has posted a 71% plunge in headline earnings, and it slashed its dividend by 57%. Average commodity prices were broadly lower during the period, despite improved demand and constrained supply, supporting prices during the second half. South 32 CEO Graham Kerr says the outlook for the business is positive. It's outlined a return to growth for its Australian manganese operations and has announced a $200 million share buyback following the sale of Illawarra metallurgical coal. Impala Platinum has plunged into the red. The platinum miner has posted an annual loss of just over 17 billion rand. Implat says its strong operational delivery was offset by significantly weaker US dollar sales revenue. It's also pointed to impairments of more than 20 billion rand and persistently low prices for platinum group metals. Looking ahead, the miner says all three major PGM markets were likely to remain in fundamental deficits in 2024, though market shortfalls were expected to ease from those witnessed in 2023. Santam says it's delivered an improved half-year performance with pleasing underwriting results, but it has cautioned that the claims environment presented headwinds for the general insurance industry, with the frequency and severity of losses from inclement weather conditions having increased substantially over the last decade. And that includes South Africa, which has traditionally been seen as a benign catastrophe environment. Drilling into those numbers now, gross written premiums registered growth of 8%. Headline earnings per share, meanwhile, increased by over a third, and the group's lifted its payout for the period by 8%. Kumba's production quality is set for a boost. The miner says its premium iron ore product from Sishen is set to treble, and that's following the completion of its ultra-high dense media separation processing technology project, which the boards agreed to put an extra 7.6 billion rand towards. That takes the project's total investment to just over 11 billion rand. CEO Mpumi Zikalala says this move demonstrates a focus on value over volume. She has added that premium iron ore is increasingly highly valued because it reduces carbon emissions from the steel-making process. And this, according to Zikalala, supports higher margins and a compelling return on investment. Libstar's eyeing higher half-year profit. The food producer says its headline earnings per share could register an increase of up to 37%. That's largely due to resilient trading performance by the ambient product subcategories, which includes dry condiments, wet condiments, and meal ingredients. Libstar's also cited improved profit margins along with lower net finance costs. Document and storage management specialist Metrofile has flagged a drop in annual profit. The firm's headline earnings are expected to decline by at least 41%. That's due to, amongst others, lower than expected volumes in its physical storage and filing operations in South Africa, margin pressure in the Middle East, and high interest rates. But Metrofile expects the next financial year to be better and says prospects for a recovery in earnings are good. Transnet secured parts of its idle locomotives. The deal reached with original equipment manufacturers for spare parts will bring 48 out of 200 locomotives back to service. That agreement comes amid a legal impasse with China's CRRC. Transnet awarded that firm contracts to supply locomotives and parts that were later found to be unlawful and inflated. That prompted the Reserve Bank to freeze its accounts, putting it in the crosshairs of SARS, which requires a tax clearance certificate. In international news, Chinese tech giant Huawei reported hefty jumps in first-half revenue and net profit, with smartphone sales robust and its smart car components business also doing well. despite US sanctions. Now let's take a look at this package report for more.
Huawei enjoyed big jumps in first half revenue and net profit in the first half of the year. The Chinese tech giant said it saw strong smartphone sales. It also revealed its smart car components business performed well despite US sanctions. Net profit for January to June rose 18% to $7.7 billion as revenue rose more than a third. It was the company's highest revenue for a first half in 4 years. Data from research firm Canalys shows Huawei shipped 22.2 million smartphones in mainland China during the 6 months, a 55% rise from a year earlier. Huawei jumped back into the 5G premium smartphone market last year with its Mate 60 series and this year's high-end P series phones, though most of the sales were confined to its home market. The launches have been celebrated in China as a win over US sanctions enacted in 2019. Washington has prevented the company from accessing advanced US chips and other technology. It sees Huawei as a national security risk, a charge the company denies. US sanctions have since broadened out to cover export bans on highly advanced US chips to all Chinese firms.
We're shifting focus to the soft commodities scene now, taking a closer look at the dynamics fueling the sweet potato markets. Here's Business Day TV's Gary Alfonso with today's edition of Markets Unusual.
Ipomoea batatas lum. That's the name, the official scientific name of the sweet potato. And we all know sweet potato as this like sort of purplish, reddish kind of fruit. And worldwide, this is the way people buy sweet potato. And when you go into supermarkets, sometimes you buy it as you were saying earlier when we discussed it, like chips or, as discs, etc. But what the interesting thing, and we're going to get to it, is there's a South African cultivar, which is the talk of the World Health Organization currently, but we're going to get back to it shortly. But let's first look at, the production places and export markets of sweet potatoes to try and understand how does it fit into this world of starch production and exports, etc. So when you look at the global and international market, first of all, the difference between producers and exporters is quite marked. In fact, that China has forever been producing the most sweet potatoes in the world, but it produces most of it for its domestic market. So people in China have been eating sweet potatoes secretly because they're so healthy for many, many centuries. And they produce most of their sweet potatoes for local domestic consumption or for some exports to Asia, India also. But here's an interesting story. Malawi, up to 10 years ago, was not in the top 30 sweet potato producers in the world. Today, Malawi is the second biggest sweet potato producer in the world. One of our neighbors here in SADC is actually producing up to about 80 million tons of sweet potatoes per year. And you don't see South Africa on this map, but you see other African countries like Tanzania, Nigeria, Angola. And the issue with sweet potatoes is it's slowly starting to grow because of its nutritious value. It's slowly starting to grow globally as an agricultural commodity in production and also in consumption because of its perceived healthier options. It's the healthy kind of starch in a sweet potato. It doesn't convert all into sugar, and it works through your system, and it's really good for gut health, etc. So now let's come back to the kinds of cultivars, and we mentioned the orange sweet potato, or when you look at this is the reddish purplish. And then you have a very white yellowish one produced primarily in South America, but also in Egypt, etc. And these are exported very effectively into the rest of Europe and North America, which also produces sweet potato. But the orange cultivar that we see in our supermarkets in South Africa, that orange cultivar is now been acknowledged by the World Health Organization as having some of the highest nutritional value in the world. And schools and educational departments throughout Africa are starting to look at the orange sweet potato produced right here in South Africa in places like Mpumalanga and Northwest Province. That orange sweet potato is one of the most nutritious starches or agricultural produces in the world, and it's a South African product, and it's making waves everywhere. And the sweet potato is one of South Africa's proud products, and not exported enough yet because it's a difficult crop to grow and to export, and it requires certain kinds of climate. But sweet potato is a sweet story.